management of patients and healthcare worker. So with that, I invite Dr. Prasanna Kumar Panda to start his presentation.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Good evening to all here. So my one disclosure actually before I tell something here was ki I am not a good in English speaking, neither good also grammatically more often in Hindi also, because I learn more often in a Odia medium. So no issue, but my intention is always actually I want to be clear too. So therefore probably when someone is listening my voice or words, so they should take in that way. Don't put more focus on the grammatical part or the word composition. But I will try to make it simple and understandable to all of you. In this 20-25 minutes of my conversation, so I will focus on two aspects. One, when I am as a healthcare worker, what I am doing and what I should do, and what I am expecting from all of you. And that will be a small part. And another part will be more often when I am a patient, COVID patient, we'll focus on the COVID. Then what I am doing as a COVID patient or what I should do, and that means what all healthcare workers should do. Because I am a patient centric and also simultaneously healthcare worker centric individuality. My personal identification is focused on that. I care both the parts in try to balance also both sides, because any point of time I am a healthcare worker and simultaneously also I am a patient. When any healthcare worker is getting infected with COVID and admitted or even in home isolation, so I try to make a balance both side. And till now I am actually whatever you are seeking, I feel myself happy and feel succeed ki I am doing my best as per my capacity. Comes to as a healthcare worker, when we started this COVID pandemic journey in our institute to 2020, that February, when COVID cases was not in India, but it was started in the outside like China. That time we got to know and we have a fear and we started everything. And with the help of all the team members, all the ground workers, and till now we did a good job. Few things we are in good it as our institute concerned, as our healthcare was concerned for this institute, and a few bad things still actually is there, and which is more concern to me. In this second wave, first wave, we did it's for including more fear and including more unknown facts about the COVID or disease, and we start our journey. But at the second wave, there is a different phenomenon of COVID, including its rapid spread, including it rapid more hospitalization, including more positivity, including first phase and second phase of both COVID illness, that's viral and immunological, both in the continuum, and also more liver injury cases this time, and more GI symptoms this time, and many more are there. And we will not go to detail because that will be more academic part. But second wave definitely has a different profile than the first wave. Main reason may be the only what it comes to my mind is the mutant, because this virus is a rapidly mutant. We cannot diagnose all the mutant. Therefore, RT-PCR negative COVID cases are much more also this time. So we have a different war situation compared to first wave. In this wave also, our healthcare worker responsiveness also is different from the first wave in the 2020. That time more support I was getting, and this time no doubt I was getting more support also, but some inhibition may be because of fear towards hospitalization or death. शायद मुझे कोविड हो जाएगा, मैं थोड़ा सा दूर रहूं और नहीं होगा. But we learn many things from the first wave. Therefore we are good at the second wave. In that angle we make more discipline, we make more decentralization. So as healthcare worker is concerned, I always believe in 2-3 aspects. First and foremost aspect is accountability. When I am putting my foot as a nodal officer, I am giving maximum accountability to that work and makes or overviews all works as best as possible. Simultaneously, when I am seeing another healthcare worker working with me, whether it's the ground, whether it is the virtual working, whether it's the administrative head, that time many things I am facing. And in this point, I want to tell all of you again, remind all of you, our beloved director Sah's voice. He always says, इसका हिंदी ट्रांसलेशन बताओ. कोई भी चीज डिसाइड होती है, कोई भी चीज व्हाटएवर एक्चुअली मीटिंग व्हाटएवर थिंग्स आर, एंड आई लव दिस सेंटेंस. माय जर्नी वन ग्रेटेस्ट लर्निंग यू कैन टेल इज द दिस सेंटेंस फ्रॉम द डायरेक्टर सर, कि आप हिंदी में इसको सिंपल भाषा में बताओ, इन द सेंस कि हिंदी में मतलब ही इज नॉट टेलिंग कि ट्रांसलेट इंग्लिश टू हिंदी, ही जस्ट एक्चुअली टेलिंग कि आप क्या करना चाहते हो और इसमें क्या फायदा होगा, कॉमन पीपल के लिए अंडरस्टैंडिंग कितना इजी रहेगा. तो आप जस्ट टेल, आप इसका हिंदी वर्जन बताओ, मतलब सर से डायरेक्ट वर्ड एक्चुअली आई एम कोटिंग. एंड विद दिस in my mind, always I try to have a good guidelines, good protocol, and good administration in the WhatsApp group. You can tell I have a 3 personality. One is physical, as you are seeing. Another highest personality, my maximum time goes in the WhatsApp personality. I am, you can think is a virtual WhatsApp man actually. And third is my mail, because the state and the center and others actually as a ethics is concerned, so I also be in the mail, but that is the less third personal. But main personality is WhatsApp personality, because I have to see all the areas wherever patients are getting admitted, and all areas I am trying to make it decentralized as an independent individual area, so that everyone can get a maximum balanced benefit. So in that way, I need from the each healthcare worker, one and first is accountability. Whenever whatever one person, one healthcare worker does anything at any point of time, like one is in the emergency doing the emergency doctor job, or during the roster committee doing the roster, and in the meeting actually logistic meeting doing the meeting and finalization. So that time we need a healthcare worker which has to maximum potential of accountability. After account, because this is a I am failing to get from the many healthcare worker, this is linking missing link, and that I cannot change myself, because each healthcare worker has to come forward and prove him or herself yes, he is or she is accountable. Second is responsibility, because these two word actually comes by together. One person, if he is accountable, automatically he or she goes to the responsibility. And when I am putting myself in that category, I try to do or may be maximum responsible whatever the work given to me at any point of time. And simultaneously, I am taking actually my body or my health care, and my family member is also there. So every one of us is a part of family. In that family, first and foremost comes our institute as a family. Apart from my own blood related family, like my father, mother, sister, wife, everything, the second comes to my institute as a family. In this crisis, when everywhere corona is COVID is there, then one thing comes to mind, how my institute is behaving and how I am accountable and responsible to my institute. In that part, I am getting more often or missing links from many healthcare workers. Probably they are unable to do balance from their own family side, blood related family side, and they are having less giving importance to our institute as a family. Because when I am thinking institute as a family, then comes multiple small families. Like I am in a department, I am a one small family. When I am actually individual unit like level 6 C1, level 6 C2, or any COVID care ICU unit, so that becomes a small unit family. But overall, I have to respect and accountable for the whole institute, that is the primum. And second, will be wherever I am posted or doing work, that is the actually nuclear family from that side. And these two family concept, apart from my own blood related family, if this I am thinking, then I think actually I am doing the best work. And I request all the healthcare workers through this my communication to all, ki let us be accountable to oneself in that way to my whole institute and the area where I am actually posted or I am working. And obviously that of my family, own blood related family is the primary accountable area that I cannot negate or inhibit. But I have to balance, because when as a government employee, when I am employing anywhere, whether it's a government or private, does not matter. So I have to accountable on that part. So with this note, I want to end my first part of healthcare worker. As I am as a healthcare worker and I am behaving, and also I request all of you to behave in that angle so that we can win this war unitedly. Because without unity, without accountability, unity will never come, and we cannot win that part. Definitely, COVID will actually also with time the peak will come and also it will disappear. But everything will matters. Everything will leave behind us actually what we did and how we actually succeed in this crisis time. When I am a patient, COVID patient, the three things we all has to remember about this organism, our body, how it behaves, interacts. Because whenever an organism comes to our body, or suppose I am giving my body as an example, so when organism comes to my body, in which route it will come? Definitely it is the upper respiratory actually tract, that is nose, sometimes mouth, and it will enter to the respiratory tract, and then lower, that alveolar tract. From upper respiratory tract to lower respiratory tract, in between at any point of time, it will go to the blood vessels, that is viremia phase. So whenever any organism comes to our body in this COVID, so it behaves fast in a viremic phase, and our body manifests some symptoms that is known as flu-like symptoms. Like when organism stays in the upper respiratory tract, sneezing, irritable like cough or cold, even if actually fever, mild low-grade fever. When it enters to the blood vessel and viremia and involves the endothelial cells, then fatigue, body ache, and it will come. And with time, whole body, because blood vessel is there everywhere, so it is circulates to all the body parts and individual organ starts involving. One of the organ is lungs, and all other like liver, kidney, brain, every organ can be involved, but major organ is lungs. And in lungs, it can present in two ways. First, when it comes from the nose to respiratory tract to the alveoli, it may manifest as a consolidation or pneumonia, that is. So that is viral pneumonia. So the second phase usually we told is the alveolar phase after the nasal phase. So in the alveolar phase, it may manifest as the viral pneumonitis that you all know, like in the H1N1 or any virus actually can cause viral pneumonia. But in a second way, when it returns back to the blood vessel to the lungs, and lungs as a reactional phenomenon, it manifests the disease. So that is acute lung injury or ARDS when it is a severe. Acute lung injury is just part of ARDS, mild ARDS. So in lungs, when react to a organism through the blood vessels, that is acute lung injury or it is a acute respiratory distress syndrome, and that may manifest in a different way. So therefore, first let's talk about the viremia phase when it is in either nasal phase or in the alveolar phase. In that too, sometimes also through the GI tract also it presents as the diarrhea. When you are seeing the diarrhea is a part of this illness, flu-like illness. So that means that organism had went to the GI tract. Apart from respiratory tract, it translocates to down to the GI tract and causes the diarrhea there. Or in the reverse way also, inflammatory diarrhea can be there when it comes to the blood vessel viremia, then inoculate in the GI tract, like ARDS in the lungs. So in similar way, the first viremia phase means in the initial 5 to 7 days. So there will you will not get a definition कि 7 दिन में viremia complete हो जाएगा, 5 दिन में हो जाएगा, 3. It's never like that. The reason being individual body responds differently to different mode of presentation. Like suppose my body, when virus enters to my nasal phase or alveolar phase or GI phase even, so it may present one day of diarrhea or fever or nose sneezing like that. But after one day, everything will be okay. But it does not mean that your body will respond to same way. It's never like that. So therefore 3 to 7 days averagely we are telling this viremia phase stage, and body present with this manifestation depend upon the where virus is located. After this, during the simultaneous phase when body is behaving with some symptoms, it next immunological phase comes in, and that immunological phase is coming along with this virus. It is not like a viremia phase will end, then immunological phase will come. This is a gross mistake many physician or many clinician are thinking. It is a wrong mistake. Whenever viremia phase is going on, simultaneously immunological phase, the body is actually now fighting against the virus. This fighting by the body is known as immunological phase, and it has a different component. We will not go to in detail of, just for a common understanding, because now we are more often every one of us should be in the same platform. Therefore I took this presentation and I'm saying this. In this viremia phase, body is presenting some symptoms. Then in the immunological phase also body will present with different symptom phenomena, and that lungs is the major organ where reaction is going on. I will come to late age immunological phase, how long is why I am saying so detail in this viral and immunological phase, because treatment lies on this type of understanding. If you are not understanding these basic two things, automatically your treatment actually will change, and many questions will come to your mind ki yeah doctor ye kyun de diya, ye kyun de diya. Because as a doctor, simultaneously I have to identify actually the body pathophysiology for a patient, and that body pathophysiology is different from one person to another person. You have to remember this line in your whole life. Good internist is that which identifies a body, or a body means it is a patient in wholesome, and also what pathophysiology is going on that person. One size never fits all. This is the basic example when we any disease we are concerning for a patient. So in that way, I am telling ki when a patient comes to in front of me, whether it's a healthcare worker or anyone, because virus will not identify it is a healthcare worker, is a non-healthcare. For us, everyone is actually patient and infected with COVID. So in the first 3 to 7 days, when someone present with it, because if viruses come to the body, either it will be asymptomatic or symptomatic. During initial symptomatic, any symptoms present, like I told, upper respiratory tract symptoms, lower respiratory tract or GI tract symptoms, that time what virus is doing? Virus is attacking our body. Body is trying to get over it by the immunological phase. That time as a doctor, what I should give advice to a patient, what that patient should do? In that time, patient should do 3-4 basic things. One is symptomatic management. All of us doing paracetamol giving for fever, ORS giving for diarrhea, or racecatrol, or even if actually lactobacillus for diarrhea, or even if mild cough syrup, or even if upper respiratory tract involved like levocetirizine or montelukast levocetirizine combination. Vitamin C as a overall antioxidant so that it can fight better. So these medicine we are giving. But apart from medicine, what other basic treatment we need? If that will not focus, then automatically error will come in the next phase, that is immunological phase. In the initial virus attacking to the body, adequate sleep has to be there. And in that sleep, proning ventilation or proning position has to be mandatory, because if you are doing proning means your lungs mechanism is getting balance. Because as a bipedal animal, we are maximum time in either sitting or standing position. Second position is actually supine position, that is actually we are doing in the sleeping in the night. So therefore, our body physiology more often vessel lungs dominance or dorsal dominance when we are supine. So therefore, our ventral surface is imbalance as physiology is concerned. So therefore, if we will make because virus is next phase, you will be attacking the lung injury. So therefore, to protect that, I will be prophylactically doing overall balance lungs ventilation, so that in the immunological lung injury phase, I can overcome that. So in that way, the second after sleep, that proning ventilation. Third will be actually our digestion system, because digestion is a continuum phenomenon. So therefore, I should take that simple, easily digestible food, immaterial, like you may have seen some video, actually one ILBS or some actually transplant person, they were telling that glucose should be avoided. I don't know actually how she was saying that, but basic common sense is telling, a basic concept is telling ki easily digestible food should be taken so that body should not more think or more work on the digestion mechanism. Otherwise that will again actually get this physiological attack process to the virus in a eccentric way. So our digestion should be smooth and easy. And last part is, for that hydration should be best one, because whatever hydration we are previously, if 1 or 2 liter water actually we are increasing, automatically we can succeed with this viremia phase. After this viremia phase, more than 95% will never land up to immunological, because immunological in the sense ki is a reactionary phase where body behaves differently. Normally what you are thinking ki when organism comes, body should fight and win, that should be the normal process for all of us, but many times it does not happen. If first viremia phase you behave irritably, suppose you are having fever, then you are traveling, you are exhaustive, you are not taking food proper timely, or you are taking eccentric diet, automatically your body will behave eccentric way in the immunological phase or the second phase. That usually starts from the 3 days or 5 days or 7 days as per the body type, and continues at least 2 to 3 weeks. So for next 2 to 3 weeks, I have what I should do in that part, immunological phase, because if I have maintained that basic 8 principle in the viral phase, automatically less than 5% will people come to the eccentric immunological phase where disease or body behaves differently. And in that phase, the major treatment lies in the body's organ supportive therapy. In that first comes the lungs. In the lungs, what support treatment? Definitely, in first and foremost is oxygen. Suppose patient is having oxygen requirement that behaves in the more respiratory rate, or SpO2 we are monitoring that is less than 93, we need oxygen. And in that also, if you are doing pruning from the beginning, automatically your oxygen requirement will be less. But if it is less than 93, then we have to start oxygen therapy. So that is the lung supportive organ therapy. Then as a inflammation, because injury means it is inflammation and response means also inflammation. Body is getting inflamed to a virus, and that is the body behaves. The anti-inflammatory has to be given, but anti-inflammatory dose and duration, it is completely dependent of individual body. We cannot one size fit for all. But as mass management we are doing, we cannot tell कि नहीं आप 2 mg पहले ले लो डेक्सोना, then आप 6 mg ले लो, ये ऐसे ठीक हो जाएगा. It cannot be like that, because some universal principle we have to do, because everyone cannot understand these things. Like मैं अभी 10 मिनट से ये बता रहा हूँ, ये सभी के पास नहीं आ सकता. तो therefore we have to focus on the basic minimum balance, because as a healthcare worker you must have understood this. What is a drug, what is a मेडिसिन? मेडिसिन वो चीज है जो बॉडी को देने से बॉडी में नुकसान नहीं होगा, और जितना फायदा रिक्वायरमेंट है हमको मिनिमम उतना फायदा देगा. सपोज नुकसान देता है तो फिर फायदा क्या हमें लेने से? तो देयर इज ऑलवेज ए रिस्क बेनिफिट प्रिंसिपल अप्लाइज टू एनी ड्रग, एनी मेडिसिन इन दिस यूनिवर्स. In that concept, primum not necessary means we cannot harm the body by giving anything. So therefore, whenever I am giving any medicine, whether it's a Dexona, whether it's a Pantop, or even paracetamol, my first principle is I should not give that dose, that duration which harms the body. But when simultaneously I am telling for the mass management, when guidelines comes to the society, it just guides the basic principle. It is not telling yes, you have to give 6 mg for as inflammation recovers, still recovers. He cannot write that, or anyone cannot write this, because then automatically question actually any body difference actually inflammation ki how that will respond, and how many days inflammation will be there in the body, no one knows. Only thing concerned is symptoms. If patient is symptomatic in the form like respiratory rate more than 24 or saturation is falling, then we are starting Dexona in the immunological phase, never in the viremia phase. Because if you are starting steroid in the viremia phase, what is happening? It completely inhibits the inflammation and also immunological phase, which is required for fight against the virus, to kill the virus. So therefore, in the initial fighting phase between virus and host, don't interrupt, don't interact. Just give support to the body and symptomatic treatment. But when eccentric immunological phase comes, when body is behaving differently and it is hyperreactive, hyperinflammatory, and it is presenting like I'm telling you, saturation is decreasing. In CT scan or X-ray, you are seeing more than 25% getting involved. Then we have to start the treatment as anti-inflammatory, and only drug is steroid. So we have to give Dexona, 6 mg, we all know, and IVOD. And if it is actually mild to moderate, mainly moderate category, we are giving for 3 to 5 days. But if it's severe category, then we are giving for the 10 days. Again, it is for mass principle. It is never one size fit for all. But we have to do this to so that we can avoid side effect which is coming after this. Now you have seen many mucormycosis cases are there, many hyperglycemia, diabetes is getting worsen, every complication is getting time there. So therefore, anti-inflammatory dose and duration, we have to go as per our protocol, or as per AIIMS Delhi protocol, or as per NIC, CDC, WHO, any guidelines you can choose, but that cannot be your own guidelines. Because if you are putting own guidelines, it means it is again eccentric approach. You are not accountable, not responsible. So in the immunological phase, after anti-inflammation, the major part will be other organ supportive therapy. Like if it's kidney injured, then kidney therapy. If liver is getting injured, liver supportive therapy. In brain is injured, brain supportive therapy. In lungs, oxygen, oxygen, oxygen. Oxygen, different modes of therapy are there, depend upon the requirement of oxygen, and we are moving to the HFNC, NIV, and also lastly intubation or mechanical ventilation. So therefore, with this basic management of organ support therapy in immunological phase and basic nurturing of the body in the viral phase, we can win this war. And one last line I want to tell before ending my session, because time is already there. If we have a comorbid body, suppose I am a patient, I am having diabetes, hypertension, like that comorbidities, then my body will again act differently. Definitely it will adapt to the virus in different way compared to the normal body which does not have any disease. Especially the comorbidity which is not controlled before the viremia episode, they will behave differently and their prognosis will be poor. For that reason, in the viremia phase, they should well balance, they should execute this 8 principle in the best way, so that they will never land on the eccentric immunological phase. Mild immunological reaction will be there, like persistence of fever, persistence of mild cough, even if hypoxia, moderate variety, like 2 to 3 liter up to 4 liter of oxygen requirement, don't worry. Never you worry, also never tell any patient to worry, koi baat nahi, up to 10 liter oxygen aapko kuch nahi hone wala. So with this comorbidity management, we have to focus in the viral phase and also immunological phase. When we are maintaining these both phases in a uniform balanced way, we can win. So I will end this. Thank you, Manisha ma'am. And any question we can take, or you already know, as I am nodal officer, and everyone has my number. And I am trying to give my best to all of you in an equal way. But I am a human being. Error will be there. Just excuse that error. Let's be united and manage this viremia phase, immunological phase in a best possible way.
Hello, are there any questions?
One question I am getting in the message.
Yes.
What is the role of mast cell stabilizer? Yes. So in that context, I told ki if patient is having some upper respiratory tract symptoms, especially sneezing, early cough, or nose block, or mainly allergic rhinitis variety. So in that, it has a role similar to the actually other, like even if it's levocetirizine, any antihistaminic and including mast cell stabilizer, both have same role. Only this is actually once we are giving, it is stopping the allergen to react in a vicious cycle. What is happening once virus is coming to nasal phase or alveolar phase, it is not one virus is causing problem. That virus in the rapid multiplication and also it changes our actually microbiome, automatically it presents as an allergen to that part. If you are giving some Montelukast, levocetirizine or any other form also, so it stops that vicious cycle. So because in the viremia phase, if you will stop vicious cycle, definitely it will not land up to more severity. Like suppose you are having a cough, If you will not take cough suppression, what will happen? So it will again actually make the throat dry, and that dryness again will start the cough. So this comes as a vicious cycle. Any symptoms in the body, we have to stop that symptom or treat that symptom by symptom management. Only reason being to stop the vicious cycle of the damage which will cause to the body. And once body is damaged, definitely the eccentric immunological phase will come and it will damage. So therefore, there is a definite role. Question about the duration, definitely till you are having symptomatic, just continue that, like any upper respiratory tract symptomatic, or even if fever also. Suppose that fever is also because fever will increase the perspiration and dryness in the mouth and nose and throat everywhere, definitely, because 1 degree of temperature rise, it causes at least 200 ml perspiration loss, matlab fluid loss. So in that part, we have to continue all the symptomatic management till the symptoms is there. Especially in the persistent cough will be there, that is known as post-viral cough syndrome. And for that reason, you have to take as long as possible, because it is a safe drug, very less side effect compared, even if paracetamol is toxic, but montelukast or levothyroxine is a far safer drug. You can continue for a few days or even up to weeks till completely recover of the symptoms of the upper respiratory tract, including cough, fever, and any respiratory tract involvement.
I think any other questions are there? Okay, I think no more questions are there, Dr. Panda. Thank you very much. And I think I really appreciate that you have. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Just
okay,
one
yes,
question
I
comes.
saw one question. Yes.
When should we start enoxaparin in specific time? Again, like Dexona is an anti-inflammation. Heparin or enoxaparin, that's a low molecular heparin, that is a anti-thrombotic agent. In virus, COVID virus, we know it is a hyperinflammatory, hyperthrombotic state. So once any patient presents with the symptoms in the immunological phase, means after persistence of symptoms or reappearance of symptoms in the next phase, that comes after 3 to 7 days, depend on the body. If persistent of symptoms, it means in a simple way you have to remember, like suppose you start with a flu-like illness and after 2 days you are getting some recovery, then it means your viremia is getting down. But after 1 day or 2 days you are getting again symptoms appearance, that is reappearance of symptoms. Another way, if after 3 days the symptoms, high grade fever, cough has started and breathlessness started, it means you are continuing, you have started viremia phase, next moving towards immunological phase. So therefore you have to decide in that way. After starting of immunological phase, you have to start this anti-thrombotic agent enoxaparin. Laboratory work of D-dimer. If more than D-dimer is more than 2 times upper limit, you have to give that even if you are asymptomatic, because it is a hypercoagulated state. Anytime you may land up with a good stroke or more of a hyperthrombotic state. So therefore, any symptoms you have to start in the immunological, but don't start in the viremia phase, because you have to find, actually, as a healthcare worker, I know you 100% will know when you are in the viremia phase, when the immunological phase. Just remember these 2 lines. Just follow, observe your symptoms. If it is a decreasing trend in the initial phase, after even 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, it means you are recovering to the viral phase. Again, second wave is coming of the symptoms in increasing, means you have already entered to the immunological phase. Another point is when you have a persistent symptoms after 3 days with the same intensity or increased intensity, then you are having the immunological phase. This point, 2 point you have to remember.
Dr. Panda, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so a person who is in home isolation, when should he get his investigations done, his blood investigation?
Yes, sir. So because of time we are, but this is a good point. Investigations should be done at the eccentric immunological phase, where persistent of symptoms is there or increased symptoms is there. And the beginning, suppose in the day minimum day 5 we are telling, but again it is person to person variations. But just remember, after day 5, if symptoms are persistent means it is a increasing or static, not decreasing trend, or new appearance of new symptoms, then you should get tested. And basic test is a routine test, CBC, LFT, KFT, and inflammatory markers along with the thrombotic markers, that is D-dimer, LDH, and HCRP or ferritin. Any one inflammation marker will be there, but LDH is a marker of prognosis. That is not a marker of actually more of an inflammation, but it indirectly reflects. It is a just cell death marker. D-dimer is a thrombotic marker, and inflammatory hCRP, ferritin, or even IL-6. But I will suggest hCRP is the best marker, LDH is the best marker, and D-dimer is the best marker. These three markers along with the CBC, LFT, KFT you should do after day 5 if symptoms persist or increase or reappearance of symptoms. CT scan, X-ray, definitely question comes to the second line कि कब करना है, जरूरी बिल्कुल नहीं है. No, any imaging is required except when you are having more than respiratory rate is increasing and cough is persistent and that is problematic to you. मतलब moderate to severe cough, constantly you are having cough or saturation has started falling, it means you are on the oxygen. When these three cases are there, baseline imaging we have to do. Even if chest X-ray is sufficient, but if you are having a CT scan available and that is low dose CT, you can go for that to have a good prognosis on that. Otherwise management it will not change, because I told you Dexana will start once respiratory rate costs more than 24, saturation falls. Okay. Any other, actually we can ask me, because the time we have to respect. And Dr. Manisha, okay?
Panda?
Yes.
Dr. Panda, Satya here.
Yes, ma'am, tell.
What is this Apixaban tablet that is coming up? I heard it from many people. They don't want to take the low molecular weight dextran, heparin.
Yes, ma'am, it is
Is it having any role?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, it has role because as a anti-thrombotic, it has role. Apixaban or rivaroxaban actually is a direct oral anticoagulant, because enoxaparin or heparin it is actually parenteral therapy. So therefore, many patients don't want to go for, even if you know diabetes में insulin लेने में कितना लोग डरते हैं.
Actually, is.
Therefore, it has, but gold standard is heparin or enoxaparin. No doubt about that. Because in acute thrombosis means we always prefer this two therapy. But still trials are going on, like in other thrombosis cases, direct oral anticoagulant has a good efficacy, or even non-superior, it means actually non-superior to this heparin or enoxaparin. But I will suggest if it is available, first and gold standard, go for heparin, or like comparing just rapid test antigen and RT-PCR. So same way, so go for enoxaparin, heparin. If you are fear, you can go, and it is also availability issue, cost issue, everything has to be taken. Even if ecosprin also same role. Ecosprin, diarrheal wall anticoagulant you can take, but not in the contrast or in the comparison to the enoxaparin or heparin.
Dr. Panda, if there's
Yes.
time, just two little questions.
Yes,
One is that like some people when they are having some little cough or something body ache for some days, then they become all right. So like this one should take some any other viral fever, or one should consider it it's because this happened because of that, and they should just treat empirically. Number one. But
yes.
Second question is that like if like you said like in the initial phase when the symptoms start declining, it means this viremia is declining. But people, they have taken some symptomatic treatment, but later suppose there is some persistence of fever or some, because we have been getting calls to know they are having mild fever, then it becomes all right, 100°F, it's become normal. So it is persisting. So like you said, it's an immunological phase. So it means the disease is continuing.
Yes, disease is continuing, but question is actually how severe, because body in the immunological phase will behave differently. If it is a mild to moderate, again, there also you have to take this call actually whether it is a mild to moderate. Every patient I am also getting for this key after 5 days the fever is continuing up to day 10, day 12 also. Only treatment is symptomatic. We are adding anti-inflammatory that time. It is NSAID, either naproxen or even ibuprofen or any actually NSAID, rather than going for steroid. Because NSAID at least safe than the steroid, because steroid एक ब्रह्मास्त्र है, फायदा देता है, नुकसान ज्यादा करता है, इसमें कोई डाउट किसी को नहीं रहना चाहिए आज के जमाने में. बट NSAID also has a limitation कि आपको lungs inflammation ज्यादा हो गया, oxygen requirement हो गया, that will not act. So therefore I have to give this steroid that point of time. For fever, body ache, if it is persistent, just give for 3 to 5 days of any NSAID with pantoprazole or PPI coverage. It will subside because it's a mild to moderate. Because immunological phase, it is eccentric immunological phase, but it's a mild to moderate. Unless it is harming the body in a severe form, no worry, and it will recover. But you have to remember this type of patients will have a more post-COVID sequelae in the form of fatigue, stress, body weakness, indigestion problem, persistent of cough for months, or even in any form. For that reason, rehabilitation is a must in this patient. All other patient also rehabilitation required. For this type of patient, rehabilitation has to be started in the immunological phase mild way and have to continue for up to 3 months. So therefore, we have shared rehabilitation guidelines. So I will request all healthcare workers to share all our guidelines, especially the first 7 days treatment. Like I always start with tablet vitamin C, that phase, and in the immunological phase for the rehabilitation purpose.
Thank you.
Manisha ma'am, okay? Okay, we'll end here, and I will take question actually in the WhatsApp whenever required, and this will be stored so that I will not repeat the same thing again and again. Thank you all.